and surpass, penetrating and perfect Dharma, is rarely met with even 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to see some new faces and some faces we haven't seen for a while. Welcome back, everybody. Beautiful morning. I've decided to talk about being overwhelmed because that's seems to be a feeling that people are talking about everywhere I go. I'm calling this talk Now and Zen. Living with full attention these days is a challenge for me. Lately, I've been aware that I almost never have a conversation that does not include commentary about the state the world is in right now. Friends, family members, and loved ones have COVID. I want to be smart about masking and socializing so I can find that spot on the continuum between being a recluse and being a party animal, but that means gathering information regularly, knowing enough to make decisions without being glued to the news feed. Almost hourly, I talk to someone about Ukraine. Updates about the war are personal. Recently, I've had flashback memories to what it was like when we were in the Gulf War, and the news seemed abstract. It involved statistics, pictures of maps, numbers. The reports didn't make me respond viscerally, but over the years, technology and reporting have improved. And now, every night, I learn the names of the children who have died. I see their pictures. I hear details that are intimate and disturbing. I receive daily reports from environmental groups about climate threats, the effects of living in our comfort zones and consuming too much. Books, articles, commercials remind us daily that people of color are regarded with less value in our culture, that racism is still the ugly underbelly of our society. How do we not become overwhelmed by the alarming information and the graphic reports? We've had emergencies before in my lifetime, but I'm aware that we haven't had so many urgent, real emergencies at the same time as we have now. But recently, I came across an article by Cynthia Thatcher called "What's So Great About Now?" that caught my eye and made me examine my usual response to the bad news. Be mindful, stay in the present, pay attention. We've all heard these phrases, the watchwords that chime in the back of consciousness from morning till night, reminding you that everything genuine in the spiritual path is to be found in the now. But then one day you're sitting in meditation, observing the rise and fall of the abdomen, or a thought, or a pain, and it seems terribly dreary. And suddenly a question floats like a bubble to the surface of your mind. What's so great about the present moment anyway? Casting about for an answer, you think vaguely of seeing the beauty that you've been missing, although nothing might seem beautiful now, or simply gaining more peace and happiness. You're not sure how these good things occur as a result of staying in the now. You feel that only if your mind could stay in the present, things would be better. just better, happier. Our clarity sometimes fails when it comes to stating why the now is worthwhile. Yet, we needn't sweep it under the rug. It warrants serious thought because unless we're clear about what the present is, it's easy to abandon the practice of mindfulness when experience doesn't match expectation. Thatcher continues, 14 years ago, during my first meditation retreat with Ajahn Rabban Namto, this question came up full force. How do you feel? He asked me. Despite his kindness, desolation hung on him like a cape. I'm having doubts, I said. He grasped the nature of the doubt instantly. It wasn't my ability or the teachings or the practice method. It was the bleakness I experienced when staying in the now. Was the now even worth staying in? Somehow Ajahn knew my thoughts. There's nothing good about the present moment, right? He asked, hooting with laughter until his eyes teared up. Apparently, this cosmic joke struck him as hilarious, though I didn't find it particularly funny. He was glad I was on the right track. I was beginning to find out that all meditators were supposed to see the first noble truth, that every moment of samsara, every blip of mind and matter was unsatisfactory. Yet Ajahn response startled me. Hadn't I read that when you place your full attention in the moment, you finally notice all the beauty you'd been missing? Wouldn't the plum taste sweeter? Wouldn't the bare winter branches thrum with radiance against the no longer bleak gray sky? The current myth among some meditation circles is that the more mindful we are, the more beauty we'll perceive in mundane objects. Even the suds in the dishpan are windows on a divine radiance. That's the myth. The truth is almost the opposite. The more mindfulness we have, the less compelling sense objects seem, until at last we lose desire for them. Mindfulness differs from ordinary awareness. Rather than seeing the conventional features of objects more clearly, mindfulness goes beyond them to perceive something quite specific, the characteristics common to all objects: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, non-selfness. Notice that beauty isn't one of them. We learn that phenomena arise only to pass away. The present moment is composed of consciousness and an object. Consciousness is always aware of something. When a smell wafts past us, a blip of consciousness knows that scent. Mind and object, that's all there is to it. Buddha said that all formations are impermanent and therefore unsatisfactory, even the ones that seem heavenly. He didn't add the footnote, by the way, some formations are wonderful. So again, why stay in the present moment? Notice the difference between saying the present moment is wonderful and it's wonderful to stay in the present moment. The second statement is saying that by staying in the now, one can be free from the distress that comes from clinging to the sensations. In fact, Buddha clearly stated the reason for practicing mindfulness: to uncover and eliminate the cause of suffering. The cause is desire. When the cause is absent, suffering can't arise. Nowhere did the Buddha advocate mindfulness for the sake of appreciating the warmth of sudsy water, the brightness of copper kettles. But can't sense impressions be pleasurable? Yes, but pleasure isn't the unending source of the happiness we take it to be. Beautiful sensations are unstable vibrations that fall away the instant they form. If we accept that mindfulness won't make the plum any sweeter or the kettle any brighter, the hopeful part is that the more we practice mindfulness, the less we care about sweetness and brightness. What can I do about the war in Ukraine and the methane destroying the planet? Actually, those graphic pictures of people whose names I now learn open my heart and stir my compassion, much more than those maps I saw of the Gulf War. So I can find small ways to contribute to the effort toward peace if I allow myself to feel the pain I'm watching from a distance. It's a good thing that we are bombarded with the information about the world's pain, that we cannot ignore the pandemic, the war, and the problems on our planet. The awareness that results increases my gratitude for my quality of life. I'm closing with a quotation from Thich Nhat Hanh's Calming the Fearful Mind. He addresses the issue of being overwhelmed by fear and pain. Coming home to ourselves so we can recognize our pain, sorrow, fear, and anger is a fundamental practice. Mindfulness and concentration help us to do this without the fear of being overcome by these negative energies. Many of us are afraid of being with ourselves because we're afraid of the huge amount of fear, loneliness, and anger in us. That's why we seek to cover up and avoid these blocks of suffering by consuming television, food, books, alcohol. With the energy from mindful breathing and mindful walking, it's possible to get in touch with our pain without being overwhelmed by it. Thank you.
Page 12 or 19 online. May awareness penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together can realize the Buddha way. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Desires are inexhaustible.